Hello, Year 4. I hope you had a fantastic weekend and are ready to get stuck into a brand new book in this week's guided reading. I know that I certainly am. So, why wait? Let's get right into it. So I'm going to share my screen and let's look at the book that we'll be focusing on this week. Pardon me. There we go. So, this is the book here. It's Roald Dahl's Danny the Champion of the World. Now, what I'd like you to do is have a look at the cover, take a couple of minutes, and make a prediction on what you think the book is about, using clues from this front cover to help you. Okay, pause the video now. So, hopefully you've had a chance to look at this. There's not a great number of clues to really help us. We've got this boy here, who we can assume is Danny. We've got some birds in the background that look like pheasants. So something to do with birds and pheasants, but really not that much that can help us. So let's uncover the blurb, which is the information on the back of the book that tells us more about it. Danny lives in a gypsy caravan with his father, the most marvelous and exciting father any boy ever had. So we'll just pause there a second. So a gypsy is like a traveling person who doesn't really have one set home. They might live in a caravan and they move from place to place. So Danny lives in a gypsy caravan with his father, the most marvelous and exciting father any boy ever had. All the land around them belongs to Mr. Victor Hazel, a rich snob with a great glistening beery face and tiny piggy eyes. Nobody likes him, not one little bit. So one day, Danny and his father concoct a daring plot. So concoct means to come up with. A daring plot that will give the old blue-faced baboon, Victor Hazel, the greatest shock of his life. So long as they don't get caught. ... So this certainly gives us a bit more information. So we can tell, this is definitely Danny, who is a gypsy. He and his father are gypsies, and they live, and it seems to be about a plot, some kind of revenge against the landowner Victor Hazel, who's a rich snob that no one seems to like. So before we crack into the first chapter of Danny the Champion of the World, we have, of course, 8 brand new bits of vocabulary to look at. So I'm just going to unshare my screen now so we can do the actions together. However, the words I have put just behind me there, so you should be able to read those. So I'm going to say the word, and I'd like you to say it back to me. So starting with our first word, onward, onward. Very good. Now, onward means from that point forwards. So you might say, I've lived in this house from 2003 onward. So it means going forward from a certain point. Or the soldiers marched onwards to battle. So, if it means forwards, or from that point forwards, our action for onward, I want you to point forward as far as you can. So, onward, onward. Our next word is a verb which is lavished, lavished. Very good. Now, lavished is to give or spend without limit. Now, you could use that in terms of money. So if we were to turn it into lavished into an adjective, you could say the movie star had lavish parties, meaning they spend loads of money on it and it looks fantastic. But it doesn't need to just be money that you spend. So it could be Mr. Parker lavished praise on his class after they did well in their spelling test. So it can be something, you can spend other things or give other things as well as money. But our action, we've used this one before. It's one of my favorites, so I'm going to recycle it. We're going to imagine that as we're spending without limit, lavished. Lavished. Very good. Next word, served. Served. Really good. So served means to have a particular use. So you might say, I didn't have a ruler, so this whiteboard served as a ruler. I might just use the straight edge of it because I didn't have it. Or if you're giving away your sofa or selling it, you might say, this sofa has served me well for many years. It means it's done a certain job. So our action for served is, imagine you're a waiter carrying a tray and you are going to serve one plate to the person in front of you. So served. served. Very good. And our fourth word, halfway there, is solid. Solid. Excellent job. Now, solid is an adjective, it's a descriptive word, and it means strong or sturdy. So it took a long time to cut down the solid oak, meaning it's really strong. So our action for that, show your biceps, solid. Solid. Great. Now let's recap those first 4 words. So I'll say the word and you do the action. Onward. Onward. Next word, lavished. Remember, which means to give or spend without limit. Lavished. Next word, served. Served. And finally, solid. Solid. Really, really good. So final 4 words now. Next word is repairing. Repairing. Really well done. Now, this word you probably will have heard before. Repairing is a verb which means to fix something. So can you remember, for instance, in I Was a Rat, what did Bob? Bob was a cobbler, which means that he fixes what or repairs what? Of course, it's shoes, isn't it? So Bob was a cobbler, which means he repaired shoes. So it means to fix something that's not working. So our action for that, imagine you've got in your toolbox a nice big hammer and you're going to be repairing it. Not smashing it, because that's not going to repair whatever it is you're doing, but if you're repairing something, using the hammer, repairing. Very good. Next word is fine. Fine. Very good. And fine actually does mean very good or excellent or of good quality. So Edward Tulane, for instance, his clothes with Abilene were described as fine, meaning that they're really good quality, excellent clothes. So our action for fine is going to be fine. Fine. And I think we've used that one as well, but it works really well for this. Our penultimate word is wandered. Wandered. Excellent. Now, to wander means to move around or to walk around without purpose, with no particular purpose. So you might wander around the shops, not really going into anywhere particularly, but sort of just weaving in and out. Or your eyes, if you're bored, might just wander around the classroom like this. They're just going, not really looking at anything in particular, just sort of looking about. So our action for wandered, imagine you're walking down the street, no particular purpose, sort of slithering like a snake. So wandered. Wandered. Very good. Now our final word, which is propped. Propped. Good stuff. Now, propped means to support something or hold it in place. So quite often, if we're going into the classroom door, I might prop open the door with a, what's it called, a wedge, to prop open the door. If I fall asleep in the park, I might fall asleep propped against a tree. It means it's holding all of my weight. So for the action, I want to imagine that you've got 2 things. They could be books, for instance, or walls. And one of them is just going to fall and be propped by this one, which is staying nice and solid. So propped, propped. Very good. Right, let's quickly whiz through those. I'm going to do the word, you do the action. We'll start from the top. Onward. Onward. Lavished. Lavished. Served. Served. Solid. Solid. Repairing. Repairing. Fine. Fine. Wandered. Wandered. And propped. Propped. Excellent job, guys. Really, really well done with that. So I'm going to show you my screen and to show you what you're going to do for your vocab activity. So here are those words again. So feel free, if you forget what they mean, you can flick back. So here are the 8 words that we've learnt right at the top. All you need to do is write out in your books or on your paper these sentences, but filling in the correct word. So let's do this first one together. So this table somethinged as a desk. So we're looking for a word that means that it did the job of a desk. So I think with this one, the best one, the one that suits best is served. So this table served as a desk. And what I'd like you to do, yeah, as I said, on your piece of paper or in your books, if you can just write down the numbers 1 to 4, leave a gap between them, and write out the whole sentence, but inserting the correct word above. And we can actually cross this one out. Okay, pause the video now. Come back to the video once you've done those 4. Okay, excellent. Hopefully that's given you a chance to do those 4. Now let's go over to the next 4. There we go. So exactly the same thing again. If you can go through numbers 5 to 8 and complete that sheet, that would be wonderful. Off you go. Great, so hopefully that's given you a chance to fill in all 8 of those. Now let's have a look at the answers. If you want to grab a pencil or a pen and go through and tick or cross these as appropriate. So this table served as a desk. After a short rest, the army marched onward. The plumber was repairing the leaking pipes. He propped the door open with a broom. He wandered through the halls until the lesson started. The carpenter built a solid table out of oak. That was a fine meal, and he lavished attention on all his children. Fantastic, guys. Really, really well done with that. So all that's left to do is go through our new text. So I'm just going to load up Danny, Champion of the World. This is chapter 1, the filling station. So make sure you're going through this with me. And even reading along. And every time we get to one of those key words, what I'd like you to do is do the action whenever we hit one of those 8 keywords. So, chapter 1, the filling station. When I was 4 months old, my mother died suddenly, and my father was left to look after me all by himself. This is how I looked at the time. And there will be a picture of him later. I had no brothers or sisters. So all through my boyhood, from the age of 4 months onward, there were just 2 of us, my father and me. We lived in an old gypsy caravan behind a filling station, which is like a petrol station. My father owned the filling station and the caravan and the small field behind, but that was about all he owned in the world. It was a very small filling station on a small country road surrounded by fields and woody hills. While I was still a baby, my father washed me and fed me and changed my nappies and did all the millions of other things that a mother normally does for her child. That is not an easy task for a man, especially when he has to earn his living at the same time by repairing motor car engines and serving customers with petrol. And there's a picture of their little filling station, their field and their caravan up there. But my father didn't seem to mind. I think all the love he had for my mother when she was alive, he now lavished upon me, meaning he's giving loads and loads of love to him. During my early years, I never had a moment's unhappiness or illness, and here I am on my 5th birthday. There's Danny. I was now a scruffy little boy, as you can see, with grease and oil all over me. But that was because I spent all day in the workshop helping my father with the cars. The filling station itself only had 2 pumps. There was a wooden shed behind the pumps that served, again, as an office. There was nothing in the office except an old table and a cash register to put money into. It was one of those where you pressed a button and a bell rang and the drawer shot out with a terrific bang. I used to love that. And there it is there. The square brick building to my right to the right of the office was the workshop. My father built that himself with loving care, and it was the only real solid thing in the place. "We are engineers, you and I," he used to say to me. "We earn our living repairing engines, and we can't do good work in a rotten workshop." It was a fine workshop, big enough to take 1 car comfortably and leave plenty of room around the sides for working. It had a telephone so that customers could arrange to bring their cars in for repair. The caravan was our house and our home. It was a real old gypsy wagon with big wheels and fine patterns painted all over it in yellow and red and blue. My father said it was at least 150 years old. Many gypsy children, he said, had been born in it and had grown up within its wooden walls. With a horse to pull it, the old caravan must have wandered for thousands of miles along the roads and lanes of England. But now its wanderings were over, and because the wooden spokes in its wheels were beginning to rot, my father had propped it up underneath with bricks. And there is the lovely old caravan there that is coming towards the end of its life. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the chapter. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I will see you tomorrow where we're going to be answering literal questions and recapping that vocabulary as well. I hope you have a wonderful day. See you tomorrow all. Bye-bye.